Welcome to Comparative Anatomy. This video is going to focus on respiration taking place in the gills of fish and in the lungs of birds. Fish use gills in order to extract oxygen out of the water and to release carbon dioxide. Gills are outfoldings of the body, and they're used to create large surface area for gas exchange to take place. So gills are the respiratory surface, and the water is the respiratory medium. Fish are going to use a process called countercurrent exchange in order to maximize the amount of oxygen that they pull out of the water. If we look at fish gills are made up of thin layers of epithelial tissue. Within the epithelium, there is tons and tons of blood vessels, in particular capillaries. These blood vessels are going to be where oxygen is taken in and where carbon dioxide is released. Fish take water in through their mouth and through their spiracles. As water enters their mouth and enters their spiracles, it's going to exit the fish through the gills. As water passes over the gills, oxygen is going to be extracted and carbon dioxide is going to be released. Here you see a picture of this taking place. As water is passing over the gills, oxygen is going to enter the bloodstream and carbon dioxide is going to exit the bloodstream. In order to maximize the amount of oxygen taken in, a process takes place called countercurrent exchange. If you look at the direction that water is flowing and the direction that the blood is flowing, they flow in opposite directions and they sort of collide with one another. This friction that's created, this collision, is going to increase the amount of oxygen taken in and the amount of carbon dioxide that gets released. Birds have a huge oxygen demand. They need that oxygen to make the ATP necessary for flight. In order to maximize the amount of oxygen that a bird takes in, they're going to use air sacs that function as bellows that's going to allow air to constantly circulate through the lungs of a bird. The bird's respiratory system is different from a mammal's. In a mammal, the air is going to enter the lungs and then it's going to exit the lungs with every inhalation and exhalation. If you look at the bird's respiratory system, on either side of the lungs is going to be a group of air sacs. And these air sacs are going to work as bellows, they're going to work as pumps that constantly circulate fresh air through the lungs. So you can see when the bird inhales, the air sac is going to pull air in, and that air is going to follow around in a circuit, and this fresh air is going to enter the lungs. Instead of exiting the lungs the same way that it came in, it's going to travel through to another air sac and then out the body. So you can see that this fresh air follows this circuit throughout the respiratory system, and the lungs are constantly fed with fresh oxygen-rich air. Inside the lungs, there are structures called air tubes or parabronchi. This is going to be the site where gas exchange takes place. This is going to be where oxygen enters the bloodstream and carbon dioxide is going to leave the bloodstream. Again, this method is used to extract the maximum amount of oxygen out of the air. Birds need tons of energy, they need tons of ATP in order to allow flight, and this is how they obtain the oxygen necessary to make the ATP.